What keeps me up at night is going back to corporate worth the money for me? Or should I take this risk and bet on myself for the potential unlimited upside, be your own boss, content creation, creative space? And I've been flip-flopping between the two. You have 2 of these?
Yeah, and then I found my original luggage that I thought I'd lost. I actually have like 3 pieces.
It looks good. It matches your skin tone.
No, you hate it. I can tell. That's why I take the video of it. Don't try and lie.
I love how you were just walking to my door and saying nothing.
I'm used to it. You get used to it. Hello.
Hi.
I just saw you at dinner last night.
I did.
We went on quadruple date edition that Jasmine Rice Girl organized. And we actually all showed up, which is amazing.
Why would we not? Actually, we didn't all show up.
Okay, actually, we didn't all show up.
Yeah, that's a freaking lie.
One person was sick.
Yeah, last minute.
I'm not going to lie. There is a moment where every time I attend a friend event, I'm usually super excited. And there's another moment I'm like, but I'm tired now.
Wait, sorry, what? So you're excited and then you get tired right before?
Yeah, I always get tired because social...
But you were at pickleball right before.
I know, but even pickleball, every time right before I'm going to a social event, I'm always like, when there's more than 3 people, I'm always like,
oh my God.
I'm so tired. Is this what I want to do? And then I get over it and I have an amazing time. I'm so happy I went. But there's always a few moments I'm just like,
So you came and it was a fun time.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went to an Italian restaurant called 𝙎𝙊𝙈𝙊 Mozza.
You know, I was going to say it's either matzah or mozzarella, but I'm pretty sure a nice 3-course Italian place would not be called Osteria Mozzarella.
Osteria Mozza quadruple date is what I wrote.
It's pretty damn good. I also loved the way the table was set up. All the tea was happening on one side. There's a little tea happening on our side. And you were just really craning your neck over there.
I had so much fun last night listening to the people were talking about. I had a good time.
A lot of relationship tea all around. I mean, it's a quadruple date.
Yeah.
So.
Oh my God. So I thought it was a fancy dinner date. None of y'all dressed up. None of y'all. I even texted Rosie a picture of my outfit 2 weeks ago.
Just so you know, I was wearing my nice sweater.
I don't even remember what you wore.
I was wearing my green sweater. That's what I wear when I'm going out.
Okay, fine.
And Julie was wearing
Julie was nice. Julie.
Yeah.
Julie, Eric's girlfriend, dressed up really well.
Yeah.
And then everyone else just wore jackets. I remember we were driving towards the corner and I saw everyone. And then I was really happy and I saw what everyone's wearing and I put my jacket back on. I was like, oh, man.
Okay, so you were wearing, what were you wearing, Chloe? Backless dress?
Yeah, I was wearing a strapless one satin dress.
It looked amazing. You showed off your back tattoo.
I did.
And you posted about it too.
I did today.
I feel like it gave a little bit of those bad vibes, which everyone was really surprised about because, again, you come off so wholesome and cute. And it's like, damn, she got a back tattoo.
It's fine now. It's been 5 years. And I finally told my dad this year. 2 weeks ago.
Wait, he didn't know you had a tattoo?
He didn't know.
How do you keep it a secret?
Every time I went home, I wore a shirt or a sweater to cover my back.
Did your mom know?
So one time my mom almost kind of saw on a FaceTime call because my
What kind of FaceTime call were you doing?
No, I was walking around cleaning up and then my shirt kind of went a little low and she's like, "Do you have a tattoo?" And I'm like, "No," and then I hung up.
And she just didn't ask anything else.
Yeah, we didn't talk about it after.
I think she knew.
Yeah, she obviously knew.
Do they think you're a virgin?
I don't think so.
Have you ever had this discussion with them?
One time in high school, I went on a trip to China on a summer camp trip, and I got caught hanging out in the boys' room and by the teacher. And it was this is such big drama in high school, okay? Because I was skipping workshops. It was a summer camp. You had to go to a workshop in China. And then I was hanging out with the boy. And then we were freaking caught. And then the teachers got so angry that we had to, you can't really expel us or whatever, but I had to go to the principal's office and then I had to write a letter of apology and then my parents had to get notified. And then my dad, the first time ever, he was like, "Did you get pregnant?" And I'm like, "No, I didn't even, I'm really not like that at all." I was so shocked. I was just talking to him. That's
you weren't even doing anything.
We weren't even doing anything.
You were just hanging out in this room alone, the two of you just talking.
Correct. So that was the only time that my dad ever spoke about it. But I did have this sex conversation with my youngest brother, who is now dating his first girlfriend ever.
I feel like, I mean, I guess it's cool if your older sister sits down and it's like, this is how sex works.
Yes, I had Kevin come in too, and we talked about
So
consent.
you and your future husband came in to talk
Correct.
to him
Correct.
about sex.
Yes. It was fine. It was not a big deal. We didn't like make it a whole thing. We were just like, yeah, you just have to, you know, have consent, make sure you use protection, make sure both of you are clean.
Okay, so we were originally going to talk about money in this
Yeah.
episode.
Welcome to episode 2 of The Joy of Missing Out with Chloe and Eric.
So, okay, first, we will one day revisit and get deep into Chloe's high school shenanigans. So
It's not that interesting.
stay tuned.
But anyways, back to money. Okay. Last night, you know what's really interesting with Eric is at the end of the night, we decided to all split the bill evenly, but Eric doesn't eat a lot because he's very strict with his diet.
I eat a lot, but I eat
Protein
clean.
chips.
Protein chips and grilled chicken and vegetables because I really try and stay in shape.
So that means every time we hang out and eat food, Eric is just like not eating the food.
Because you eat delicious foods that
I
aren't
do.
fitting into my macros.
It's true. But then you always opt to split evenly too.
Yeah.
Why?
Because friendship is more important to me than money.
But then we could have also just, I don't know, split wise this and then figured out your portion. Plus, people ordered alcohol and you don't drink alcohol. And I don't either.
That's true. We did pay more. So I ended up paying $150 for myself and then $150 for my girlfriend. So $300. I didn't really eat much. And I thought about this. I don't want to be the type of person that lets money get in the way of having a good time. If I know I can afford it. Growing up, every single little thing came down to how much did it cost. And my dad, because obviously he grew up in a situation of poverty where he wasn't making that much. We grew up really poor. Like his first job when I was born, he was making like $20,000 a year, like some absurdly low number. I remember up until age 10, like, yeah, we just couldn't afford anything. My first bike was a girl's bike that we like scavenged from a garage sale / whatever and like painted it pink. It wasn't until like a month of riding it, I was like, it hurts to sit on this. We figured out that like girl seats and boys seats are different. Everything I read in the early days were just like random books scavenged from, like garage sales or stuff like people were throwing away. And it just became every single thing we do. My dad was like, how much does it cost? And you have to get like a well-paying job. It's like you need to go to Harvard, like work in investment banking and make tons of money. I felt like my entire worth was based on how much I could make. And so I just hate all of that. I hate that mentality. I hate it. And I so want to be different that I'm never going to let money get in the way of what I want to do if I think that I can reasonably afford it. Because in my mind, there's always that voice in my head that is judging myself for going and spending. So I have this like very weird thing where like, yeah, I'll be like, you know what? Split it. $300 for dinner. Sure. And then inside a part of me will be like, oh.
Have you ever had a cheap era?
I think like in relationships, I've dated people who were like, they expected me to like cover everything. And I just can't do that.
Yeah.
I'm like, on principle, I'm never going to be like my dad where like money is literally everything that matters. But like I do care. Like I'll go have a great time with my friends and I don't want it to get in the way of building the friendship, but I still will like internally be anxious, like, oh my God, am I spending too much? So I'm not okay like dating someone where the expectation is like you just pay for everything.
Yeah.
And so I have had exes where like I would feel like, am I being cheap because I'm not paying for literally everything? And I'm like, no, like I want someone where we don't have to split it, but like, you know, at least something.
I get it. Yeah, I think I totally get it. I think if it's like $10, $20 is fine, but $300,
it's a lot.
It's kind of a lot.
What about you? Like, I remember we had a conversation when you were still at Discord. I was like, okay, you could totally be a full-time creator.
Yes.
You make enough from creation.
Yeah.
Obviously, you made enough from Discord. And I remember you were like very open. You were like, you're scared. because there's
Yeah.
stability of the paycheck.
Yo, it's scary. I mean, the salary I have, I know that it won't ever really go down as long as
We
I
can say
continue.
it's over six figures. We
Yeah,
can say
yeah,
that.
for sure.
Over six figures.
Yeah, both actually.
Yeah. Your content and Discord.
Correct. And I was doing content on the side. I had a really good year.
Yeah.
The first, I think.
Which, like, side note, I heard that and I was like, holy fucking shit. You do content on the side, you're making over six figures.
Yo, my rates are
Damn.
not even that crazy.
You know what's so weird though?
What?
When you told me that, I felt like, despite my intentions, I felt like I got more respect for you, which I don't like.
Huh?
Let me go into this.
Okay.
There's that part of me that's ingrained from my dad where a person's worth is measured by their money.
Oh,
And I think that is so toxic as
that's toxic, dude.
totally.
That's weird.
And that's why I've said my entire life since I've tried to live it differently. That's why, like, I'll spend $300 at dinner because I don't want to subscribe to the mentality. And I want to value and respect you because of who you are, regardless of how much you make. And the intrusive thought part of me was definitely like, damn, good job, Chloe.
Thank you.
And I feel like embarrassed and ashamed that some small part of me was like, wow, she made more than six figures from her content. Like, I should respect that work more. But to be clear, the much larger part of me is like, this absolutely changes nothing.
When did you first make a lot of money? Like, what was the first job you're like, holy crap, I'm making money. I can pay for stuff.
Well, when I worked in investment banking in my junior year, I think we got like 10K for that summer. And that was a lot.
For 3 months?
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
For
But
an
like people in
intern.
tech can make even more for just 3 months. And then my first salary out of college, when I worked in consulting, when I worked in McKinsey, it was around like 70, 80K at the time.
Okay.
That is both a lot of money. And this is like why money is so weird. It's so much. And like all my friends who went to banking were making like over 120K or tech.
That's a banking salary, new grad
New grad.
for IB
Yeah, with bonus, like all in.
with bonus.
Yeah.
Is bonus at the beginning or after a year?
I don't remember, but like I know like my friends going to banking and like product management were making like over 110, 120 straight out of school.
Yeah.
Again, I was really having to reconcile with this weird tension where I grew up being like, well, obviously you should just choose everything based off of money, with this whole new set of realizations like this is a terrible way to live life. You have to figure out what you care about more than just money. Money can be helpful, but if you have enough, focus on stuff that gives you meaning. And so it was really me being like, ooh, there are people who are literally making more than I am that I also could go and make that much if I want to, but I don't want to because I'm not happy. And then it's like this weird, like,
Wait, when was this though? Because you
This
were
is,
always money driven, right? Were you also always money driven?
I would frame it as from a young age, very money driven, but then entering like age like 20, trying to be the opposite.
Wow, 20 is really young to finally have that click.
Well, because like life just sucked, right? Because everything was just like literally, it felt like my life's purpose was to make as much money as possible, which is so miserable. I went to banking not because I liked it, because on a risk adjusted basis, you make the most money doing it. And so I just had this big life change. I don't want to make decisions based on money anymore.
Wow.
But I think of this because, you know, we talked about how you didn't really want to leave Discord partially because it was scary. I think at a certain point, money becomes this conversation of what are you willing to trade off against it? What do you care about more than just money?
I think that there is a minimum threshold, or there's like a baseline of like, okay, this is enough. And then anything more is just not going to make that big of a difference. So I think getting the other parts of my life to the enough point was what I needed to feel more confident. But I never felt I could continue this trajectory, especially in content. With Discord and tech, I just felt that I could do this forever. It would be fine. So that's why I felt like it was so hard for me to leave this salary and this compensation. But then I also felt that I could do so much more. And I felt stifled. And I felt like I think what got really annoying was when I was getting feedback that I disagreed with. And this is feedback about, I don't know, soft skills or leadership, or when I said something wrong at a certain meeting that I was like, if I were a different person at a different company with a different culture, I would have been completely in the right. And I don't really want to action on this kind of feedback. This is not the type of person I want to be. And that's when it started to conflict. Is me molding myself into the person that this company wanted me to be? Is that what I want to be spent? Is that what I want to spend my every day on? And is that money worth it? Or I could just start my own, create my own experience and let myself be and grow in the places that I think is cool and right. And if the money is like comparable, I would totally choose the other path. Yeah.
See, that's what I get scared the most about a money-focused mentality is when it stops you from doing other things.
Yeah.
Because on paper, it seems like, oh, it wouldn't be as secure. For example, basically, at Discord, you're having these experiences, you're not great. Like your salary is just the cost of like you staying there versus doing more what you actually want to do.
Yeah, I think so too. I felt like I had to, you know how Google says, oh, you want to bring your whole self to work or something, like that kind of culture. Yeah, no, that doesn't exist. That does not exist.
Also, to your point, you have to make a minimum amount. And I think everyone has a different number. I think for me, my salary where I'm comfortable, maybe like at a minimum 80,000 plus. And then I think to be more comfortable, like 120,000 plus. And beyond that, it's like, okay, it's nice, but it's not super needed. Now, ideally, it'd be higher. And I feel like you have to decide what's that minimum level. And then when I've hit it, okay, I can't let my life decisions be guided just by money. So when I quit the corporate world, like if I'd stayed in tech, my peers who started in tech around the same time, right? Like their salaries are like 500 to like $1 million in the corporate world.
Yeah. They make a crap ton of money.
Totally. And even when I left, I was making like 200, 300K.
At Coinbase?
Instagram, Coinbase. I think at Instagram I was making less, but I think at Coinbase, it was like a 200 to 300K range. When my co-founder and I, because obviously I left to do a startup, like in the beginning, it's like, you don't even know you're going to make any money, right? Like, for a little while, there was no salary.
You took no salary?
Yeah, because there's no money.
My God.
But not for that long. And then we raised money and I think we paid ourselves like somewhere in the range of like 50 to 80K.
Wow.
Which is good, but like way less than like 300K.
Yeah.
Again, it was just this whole unlearning of what I used to care about as a kid, listening to my dad being like, you have to make money, and being like, no, I care more about trying this new thing on my own with my friend than making 300K a year. And for me, that was like a really scary, weird thing to go through.
I think it's interesting because a lot of people who go from tech into startup, either one, they like have this huge mission that they want to solve, but for the most part, most people do it because they think that there's actually a lot more money after 5+ years if there's an exit plan, especially at the founder level.
On a risk-adjusted basis, it is the stupidest thing in the world from a financial POV to do a startup.
Okay, tell me about it.
Like, sure, you have a small chance of becoming like rich as fuck, but like you probably won't.
So I do have a set of people in my network that will do one of those B2B startups and get acquired. Yeah. And that's actually really lucrative. There's a lot of money in B2B.
It can be. Yeah. I mean, it depends if you were acquired with like a real golden parachute, or like there's a lot of companies that just get acqui-hired and no one makes anything. But totally, I believe a lot of your friends have become very rich, but like this is selection bias. There are so many, you remember and think about the people who did a startup and made a lot of money. You don't think about all the people, so many people do startups and they don't make much, or they would have made more, they just stayed in industry. And again, it comes down to this very basic point of you can't let money guide your decisions on stuff like this. If you're doing a startup literally just for the financial upside, I don't think you're going to be able to do it. Again, like I think money these days, as long as you're hitting your minimum amount, it's actually a test of saying, how true are you to your actual convictions and what matters in life?
It's fair.
On a risk-adjusted basis, Chloe, you'd probably also be making more if you just stayed at Discord or in tech.
Tech, yes, you can make a lot of money up until a certain point, and then it just kind of flats out for the rest of your career unless like you go to C-suite. And
okay, as a creator, you have more upside.
I do think so, but there's more work involved. Like from a numbers of hours perspective, like maybe it might be not as challenging. It's like challenging in a different way. It's very operationally heavy. But some of the numbers I've seen in content has been insane to me. Insane.
Actually, you're right. There's this really interesting thing. The funny way to actually make lots of money is by doing really risky things that you might not do if you're so focused on hitting that 300K a year salary.
Yeah.
You're right. You could make more from content than from Discord. But if you were just starting this from scratch, the conventional wisdom would be you're going to make less.
Content, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, what are the numbers again? Like only, 4% of content creators make over $100,000?
It's something like that.
Something like
it's not
that.
a lot.
Yeah, it's not a lot.
And so then I think this goes back to my earlier point. Like if you join a startup, you have to care about what they're doing outside the money. Presumably when we started to make content, in your mind, were you like, oh, I'm 100% going to make over 6 figures from this soon? Or were there other reasons beyond the money on why?
Oh, for me, well, okay, first of all, I don't have a set answer right now of whether or not this path makes sense for me. I'm not entirely sure. I did really like my job as a product manager.
Yeah, you were good at it.
I like the problem-solving element, and I like the type of people I was working with.
Corporate culture, I felt like you stifled a little.
It was the corporate culture. It was like going, rolling with the punches and getting that feedback that I disagree with, but not having the autonomy to say my part and then not be penalized for it. And I think that is not fun for me. I just really think I want to be my own individual person, be creative, try new things, and go against the currents. Within the creative space and content, I think it can be stifling too. Like it's really repetitive. I think it can get really numbing, but I want to raise the bar and I want to do like something very world-class, something really impactful and net positive and creative, and keep improving upon it. I don't know which path makes sense for me. I think what's really interesting is that with content, I have had people tell me, this girl, she only has, okay, not only, but she has 1 million followers on Instagram, and she only made like 12 posts last year. She made $1 million.
Yeah, some people are really good at it.
Some people really are great, and she just works on like everything else in her life. And I think, oh, that's crazy. I mean, of course, those 12 posts can be a lot of work. Like we don't know. That was insane. That was just insane to me. And then there are people in similar profiles that would get a deal and it's like $300,000 for one deal.
So like when you hear about people making more, like how do you feel when you hear that?
I think the ceiling is really high. It's like it feels uncapped. I feel like I can keep going and build enough cash flow and then build enough wealth that can compound over time better than what I can achieve as an employee.
What if God came to you right now and he's like, Chloe, I can guarantee to you on a lifetime basis, you would make more if you just stayed at Discord.
How much more?
Let's say 15% more.
That's not that big of a difference.
It's not. It's not. Again, this is coming. Money is the price of you deciding what you want to do versus deciding to do something you like less for the money.
Yeah.
So 15% more Discord, you still make content. What if Discord was going to make you 50% more?
Okay, that's a big difference.
Would you then do Discord instead?
Is the consequence that I cannot do any creative things on the side?
Let's say you can't.
Yeah, no. I'm good.
Yeah. There's some things that got to be worth it.
Because the baseline, I feel like, is there. I've hit. To dedicate my entire life to like this one thing that I may not always agree with and having to hold my breath really sucks.
Now you're doing content full time because of the Discord layoffs.
Yes.
Do you think you eventually would have made that decision yourself?
I don't know. Yeah, I feel like I say I would have, but knowing myself, I'm so risk averse that I wouldn't actually do it at the end of the day.
I mean, first, I totally get that. It's the very similar line of thinking for me, like leaving Instagram.
Yeah.
And then, so like I left Instagram because I just had the worst manager in the world and it was not good for my sanity and my mental health. Like I used all my PTO to like literally go and do an outpatient program in therapy. It's terrible.
I remember.
And then at Coinbase, I got fired. And I have to sit there and be like, well, if I didn't get fired, would I have gone into a startup? Like, would I have left to my own decision? It's like very similar to what you said. It's like, I've tried to become much more risk-taking in the past few years. But I think that risk aversion for me comes from that scarcity mindset, growing up with not a lot of money. And so being like, oh, you got to get it. And then I think, again, to your point, how like content creation is upsized, is like much more uncapped. People who end up making lots of money or just doing really interesting, fulfilling things, I think you have to come from a place of like abundance in your head.
I think so too.
Yeah. Which is like not where a lot of us immigrant children grew up.
Yeah. I don't know if I have a truly abundant mindset, but after meeting Kevin, I feel like I have enough. Yeah. Even if I don't have the job, I can create enough. Worst case scenario, just like don't spend.
Yeah. Or like, for example, in this case,
reasonable.
You're like, cool, Discord layoffs. I can just be a full-time creator for now versus being like, I have to go back and get a job now.
Yeah. Although I do miss being a part of a company.
Yeah. What do you miss?
Well, okay. So last night, I don't know if you were in the conversation when I was talking to like John about content versus tech, and he went to Harvard, studied CS, and then he started a YouTube channel, and he really wants to do work. Rosie also really likes being part of a company. And I was like, wow, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel that way that much.
These are two friends of ours who both have hundreds of thousands of followers on socials and easily make six figures via content, but decided actually to focus more on the business side and go back into the corporate world or do their own companies or whatever.
Yeah, so it really got me thinking again. I was like, huh.
I mean, honestly, our friend group, and I've said this before, we're in the middle. Like, we have friends who have gone from content back to corporate, back to content. And then we have friends like you and me have always done like a little bit of both. Why do you think upon hearing, you're like further reflecting?
I think what they like is working on something intellectually stimulating and actually building something instead of like posting a picture, I guess, or whatever.
I think you can do that though. I mean, John's doing his own company.
Yeah.
I think you can stay solo and get that without joining.
I think so too. I think it's not about like company versus my content. It's about that desire to want to build something like actually, like what are you actually doing? Is this just a stupid vlog or is this something you're building?
So then why do you do content?
Did we not talk about this before?
A little bit, but I think it's the same thing. What about it is so meaningful that you'd be willing to do it even if you could have made 15% more money in the corporate world?
Yeah, I mean, when I first started, it was never about the money.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's like the beauty of it.
That's why I think it's the critical thing. Things that can be promising and meaningful and make you over six figures, a lot of times when they start, they can't be about the money.
Yeah.
You might not have done it because there were more stable risk-averse paths out there.
Of course. 100%. It was 100%. Yeah, and it really was that I felt really invisible working in corporate and everything I stood for and worked on kind of got erased. Someone else took credit. Or even amongst friends, like the community I had at the time in San Francisco when I was living there, I just felt that I never had my own thing. And I felt really insecure. I felt like I'm just so dispensable. So when I finally put my voice in its own medium, that I control everything, I own everything, everything is mine, I finally felt I was alive here.
There's a quote from David Foster Wallace where he
Is that a poet?
He wrote Infinite Jest and lots of other really excellent long books, which I confess I generally haven't read, but I've read a lot of his short essays and speeches. And he has this speech where he talks about the dangers of worshiping idols. And what he means by that is if you worship an idol for its own sake, you end up always desperately grasping for it and never finding meaning in your own life. If you worship being rich and you worship money, you'll always feel poor. If you always worship looking pretty, a lot of times you'll feel ugly.
Wow.
If you really worship being in shape, a lot of times you'll feel, not in shape. Almost like what you strive for desperately, you kind of don't have. And I think the way you have to get around it is you have to find the things where even if I don't hit like this outcome of like rich, pretty, in shape, just the journey itself I enjoy. That's why I was thinking of when you're saying like you just started content, because literally just the act of making something and putting it out there, that's fulfilling to you because you're being heard and seen that you never were before. Yeah.
I think that when people ask me for advice on getting into content, like, oh, I'll have like product designers or UX researchers or like other PMs who want to get into content and they're asking me how to balance it all. And I'm like, I'm not sure if you want to. It's a lifestyle. It really is a lifestyle, and you have to actually love the process of it because it's like a lot of work. It's a freaking grind, and you have to like the act of making a video, writing the script, editing, and knowing your why, because everyone who doesn't have that burns out.
That's the exact same point I believe on why you can't join a startup just for the money, because you'll burn out for that same reason.
It's true. It's true.
What about from a relationship POV? You asked me this earlier. Have I ever felt cheap? And I said, well, not really, but I've had people expecting me to cover it. How do you do your finances with your husband, since you're now a married woman? And like, even before that, like when you go on dates, like what's the protocol for you? Is the guy supposed to pay or are you trying to splitsies?
Our very first date, we split and I got mad. I did the whole, like, oh, do you want to split the bill?
Was like, yes.
And he was like, yeah. And I'm like, that was a test. But I didn't say anything. I just know that minus points.
In your head, you're like, you failed.
Yeah.
But you're not
I'm a
married
little
to this
traditional
guy.
because I think that actually, if I asked him out, then I would pay. If he asked me out, he should pay. You know, it's my time that you're asking for. And I think that I should be treated.
Yeah.
So I didn't like that. And I told him after a while. But at the beginning, he was making, okay, so now we're in a relationship phase where we're like solid.
Yeah.
And we finally started talking about finances. But then we started to have a conversation, and then he helped me learn about my finances, my budgeting. And then I eventually got my first product manager job. And then I started making more. And then eventually I surpassed him. And then I know. He helped me build my confidence around my compensation, helped me think through my packages. And then we've always split pretty evenly, like half and half for finances. Yeah.
So you make more than your husband now?
I mean, I don't know about actually at this point in time, yes, because he went to gaming, and gaming makes far less than tech.
Was that a passion choice for him?
Yeah, it's a passion choice.
Again, it's the whole thing. You got to decide what to trade off on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if it's worth the money. I respect that.
Yeah, I told him you should go after your dream of being a game dev.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, there's no money in this. He passed pretty much all his interviews his first time transitioning into games. He's not very good at negotiating though. I'm far better. And
you had to fight for it.
I've always had to fight for it. He's never had to fight for his salary.
You don't learn the skill.
Yeah. He was always just given a good compensation. He's like, oh, okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah, you don't need to negotiate. You're like, all right.
I've always had to build that muscle.
Did you grow up financially stable?
Of course not. We were super poor. I don't know how much we were making on a household income, but I definitely had government funding. I got all the grants for college. We were considered a low income household. I think we got food stamps, and all my lunch was covered in high school.
Do you send money back to your parents?
I cover for my brothers, and then whenever my parents want something, I can get it for them.
Wow.
They don't like it when I give them money. They hate that.
Yeah.
And they also don't need a lot too. They're really cheap. They're so cheap. So I try to take them out and do nice things, and they get really upset. They're like, no, I don't want that. I want to eat at home. I want to be simple. We like simple things. And then for my brothers, I spoil a bit, and they cover things that they need, so they don't have to worry about money.
Initially, my early relationships, my first girlfriend made basically the same amount of money I did because we were both consultants.
Okay.
So obviously we split everything. We met in college, and then we were both consultants. So we split everything basically down the middle. And then I was a product manager, and my second girlfriend was also a product manager.
Whoa.
Also at Meta.
Okay.
So we also made comparable amounts, and we basically split everything down the middle. Yeah. And I was just like, oh yeah, you always split things down the middle. This makes sense. Everything split down the middle. It wasn't a big deal. Then my third girlfriend was so much richer than I was. Definitely multi-millionaire. And she was younger than I was too.
Wow. Wait, what industry was she in?
Entrepreneur.
Like a startup founder?
Yeah. / I think crypto. / I think also her parents were also entrepreneurs and really rich as well.
Where were you in this stage of life?
I was a product manager. So I was making fine money.
Yeah.
And then at one point, this is the early days when I quit, and I was making basically no money at Karat.
Okay.
And so it got this really weird thing, because I remember we once got into a huge fight because we decided to go on a trip, a vacation or something. And I asked if I could cover my portion using points and miles, because I had a bunch of points and miles saved up from my time as a consultant.
Yeah.
And she got really upset.
Why?
Because she was like, if you have points and miles, you should use that for the both of us. And then we split what's left over. And I was like, okay, but I'm poor right now. And I'm don't have money. And she had never dated someone before who wasn't paying for everything.
Even though she's a multimillionaire?
I think it's just the nature of what someone expects in a relationship. So I have to give her credit. She definitely, with me, was more down to split things. And we split a lot of things. But it was really weird and different for her. And there still was a lot of expectation around treat me. And yeah, it was hard because I didn't feel financially stable enough.
But she wanted to split, which is okay.
No, I wanted to split.
Oh, you wanted to split.
She definitely prefer I would treat her.
Cover the entire thing.
Ideally, but she, to her credit, was very understanding and was still okay splitting, but did get very upset over this vacation thing when I was like, can I just pay for my portion using points and miles?
Interesting.
And then I dated my fourth girlfriend. We basically I think I actually covered a little bit more. The fifth one definitely made less than I did. Oh, you're just hearing my entire relationship history.
Wow.
Definitely made less than I did. And so I was happy to cover more, but she expected like everything to be covered.
I don't like that.
Yeah, I just didn't like that. We had a big discussion about it. I was like, look, I just don't feel appreciated. And for her, she's like, the fact that I'm letting you pay for everything is how I show that I care. And I was like, well, I make more and I'm fine covering most and generally treating you, but not the expectation to have everything covered. And then I think with my current girlfriend, it's landed in a really nice place where I do cover most. Like I paid for
Dinner last night.
But she doesn't expect me to.
Yeah.
She's not like assuming that I will. I just do it because I want to. And I think from a financial POV, it makes more sense for me to do so.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I guess the lesson here is, gosh, everyone's different around money.
Everyone is different.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I do think I don't like, do you know 公主病?
No.
Princess syndrome?
Well, I mean, it
You
sounds
can probably
self-explanatory.
guess. Yeah.
But what's princess syndrome?
I mean, that's basically like expecting the other half to cover everything and being treated like royalty.
And like wanting expensive gifts and things like that.
Yeah, correct. Like
one of my exes definitely wanted those things. And I was just like, damn, I don't know if I can afford that.
That's a lot. I don't like it. But I guess if you're at a different income bracket, maybe that doesn't mean that much to you.
We talked about it at dinner. There are people for whom, like, if they're getting lots of gifts and being treated in limos and stuff, like that will win over their affection.
Yeah. So back to, well, I think I understand where you stand on money. I like how you're very mission driven. So you're a missionary.
Yes, but as a former mercenary.
What is a mercenary again? Someone who
does stuff for the money. So I'm a former mercenary who's trying to reform into a missionary, but has to like combat those like intrusive thoughts around maybe I should be more mercenary.
I think I am also a mix of both. I am very motivated with my money. I will work to the value of the money. Like if I'm just paid more, I will literally just do more and do better because I feel my time is being valued. And so I'll just do a better job. So I'm very money driven, but I also wouldn't sacrifice my values and my principles. Yeah, there is an extent.
Here's the classic question. Would you ever do an OnlyFans?
No, I can't. I don't have assets.
That's a great case where, what did you say?
I don't have enough assets. I thought about it. I was like, oh, damn, dude, I can't pull this shit off. I'm like, because people can pay off houses in just a few months. Straight up in OnlyFans. Yeah.
I have friends who OnlyFans models who have.
Yeah. But I look at the OnlyFans girls and I'm like, it makes sense for you, girl. Like, you go get it. Money is money. I am not picky with that. If you can pay off a house, that's hard-earned money.
I remember one of my friends is an OnlyFans creator and pornographic actress named Kazumi. Kazumi's publicly talked about she doesn't actually think she's the most attractive person, but she knows how to basically do really good marketing and lead gen.
But she has assets. So
I'm curious. Let's say you had the assets. Would you then do it?
I think the way I was raised, I wouldn't. I'm not interested in it. And I don't feel like it makes me happier or sexier or whatever. I'm just literally not interested in it.
Yeah, I get it. I'm the same way. Like the version is like Eric. Like, I mean, not that anyone would like care, but if you could, would you? And I'm like, no, I don't think I would.
Yeah.
And not because there's, anything not inherently good about it. I think for me, it's just the way I think about money is you should be paid for the things that you would do even if you weren't paid that much.
Yeah. And I think some people who are really successful in that industry still just really like it.
Oh, yeah. Like Kazumi loves it.
Yeah.
But I think there are people who really don't like it either. Yeah. And I just never would want to feel like I'm doing something for the money. Yeah.
There's just so many other ways to make money.
Yeah.
So it's just like, that doesn't seem like a very nice path. Plus it has a lot of consequences and creepy ass people. And like my safety would be at risk.
Yeah. Here's another question. Say someone just came up to you today and gave you $10 million. What do you do next? What's your life change?
Pay off the house, which is great. And then I help my parents out and they get a financial advisor and they don't tell anyone.
These are so practical.
Yeah, I literally don't freaking tell anyone. Kevin and I talked about it a lot. Like if one of us won the lottery, what would we do?
Yeah.
Get a lawyer and then put it away.
Okay, but then what?
No one would know. No one would know.
After no one knows, after you put it away, then what?
Oh, and just keep living my best life by myself, like doing what I'm doing right now. But like maybe with a personal assistant, maybe have someone cook for me, get more editors, think about impactful ways to do stuff.
I like that. Nothing too major.
I don't think so. I don't need that much. Like, what am I spending it on?
I'm the same way. I like to think if someone just came up and gave me $10 million, basically live my life the same, but with a personal masseuse, cook, personal trainer, and all of those things.
Yeah.
And maybe a bigger house.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
But that's basically it.
I think so too. I'll feel really at ease because then I feel like I can finally have kids because they're expensive and have someone help out.
Wow, I never thought. I don't think I'll have kids. But yeah, kids really change your financial situation.
That's why I'm so money driven.
That makes so much sense.
I never want money to be a factor in help supporting the kids. Like if they really wanted to learn, I don't know, ice hockey over the weekend and you have to dish out a few $100s for the gear, for the lessons, for the time, that's a financial decision.
So say you don't have kids and both you and Kevin just stopped working. Presumably, you could be fine for at least several X years.
Yeah, we'd be fine.
Totally. Which, by the way, a lot of people our age don't have.
Yeah.
Like even financial runway to be like, oh, I can just take some time off. Say you have kids.
Yeah,
like,
we're screwed.
Yeah. Have you done the calculations? Like if you have kids and you just stopped working, like.
Yeah, we're screwed.
Yeah. Kids are expensive.
It's expensive. It's a life that, it's a life commitment, and I never want to feel I can't provide.
Give the best to your kids.
And not just my kids too. It's like the kids in my community around me. Because I really think parenting and raising children takes a village. My parents were busy and they still work 7 days a week. So they were never around and I never got picked up from school. And I always like had to stick around, just hang out on campus, like doing homework. And then I had friends who would pick me up and take me home, or like people's parents would pick me up when my parents weren't available. And I want to do that for other kids. If they wanted to be part of an experience, I'm more than happy to cover. I feel like parenting is such a hard thing. It's a hard thing to do alone. So I want to provide for my kids and like my community's kids.
You know, so my parents, like I said, we grew up very poor, but then my dad did very well financially. And when I'm not poor.
Oh, good for him.
It just became this like very weird obligation thing. So I'm very grateful that he paid for college. But it became this mechanism of control where it was like, if you don't study the courses I want you to study, I just will stop paying. And I was like really terrifying. And I was just like, wow, I felt really trapped. And so, yeah, it's like, I think that's maybe another reason why I don't want kids. I'm just like, there's so much control exerted in how I grew up that I would just never want to do that to someone else. But I think your kids will be lucky to have you because you're looking at this from the perspective of whatever you want to do. Like, I just want to make sure I have the finances to help support you.
Yeah.
Although, do you think you'll be a tiger mom?
Kevin says he thinks I will, but I'm actually way more open-minded and way more chill than I say this because I have younger brothers that I'm a mini mom too. And I financially support anything that they want. And I'm I'm really hands off. They're like, oh, can I have money to go this? And I'm like, oh yeah, have fun. Yeah.
Wow, you're
just
a mini
take my
mom.
card.
You're like that Reddit trend. You were parentified.
I am. I also talk to them about hard things, right? And they also...
I mean, you had the sex talk with them.
Yeah, I had the sex talk. And then I also talk to them about like why they're doing something. Like, okay, I'm paying for your college courses, but like, why are you taking this course? Like, do you actually want to learn about this? And you got to have your own opinion. You have to have your own why for every small thing that you do so that you can be your own individual person. I think that's so important for kids to learn for themselves. And I can't do that for them. So I would have these discussions. It's like, yeah, you can use my money. What is it for? Like, why are you doing this for yourself?
Would you say on a yearly basis you support them more or less than, say, $10,000
more?
Year?
Oh, yeah.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, I don't really like try to count it.
Yeah.
But I do get upset if they take it for granted.
Right. That's the expectation thing.
Yeah.
They're just like, of course Chloe will pay me money and give me money.
Yeah. They both know that I will provide them. If they ever ask me for help, the answer is yes, I will help them. But they are very cautious of asking me for help. Yeah.
Would you ever say they become very financially stable? Would you ever expect them to pay you back?
Oh, absolutely not. I don't care.
I love that.
Yeah. What the hell?
Because with family, any money you lend, realistically, it's just a gift anyways.
Yeah, it's just a gift.
You might as well just own it.
I think I'm really happy when someone is happy, like they find their own path. I had another example is our friend She was like, dude, you're so good at brand sponsorships and partnerships.
Yeah, you
Can
are.
you do connections and like intro me? And I'm like, yeah, of course. She's like, you can even be my talent manager and take X%. And I'm like, I literally don't want that.
It changes it when money's involved.
Exactly. Plus, I would rather her have 100% of the deal and just like succeed and flourish. And that gives me all the value. I'm so happy.
Wow.
Like, what's the point of me taking that 20%? A, I don't need it. I've never needed it from the beginning, which is a very privileged thing to say. I get that. And I'm really happy I pushed myself to get to this stage where I don't like try to get money from every source. And then lastly, I just really believe in good people. And when they succeed, I'm just happier.
It is so interesting. Like at a certain point when you have a minimum, yeah, your reputation, your willingness to help friends seems to succeed. It matters a lot more than money. Like similarly for me, like I would never make an introduction because someone's paying me.
Yeah, it's just weird.
Or let me caveat, if it's an absurd amount of money, if it's like above $10,000, then what I'll do is I'll go to the person to be introduced and just be transparent with them and be like, hey, so this person wants to pay me $10,000. Are you interested in taking it?
Yeah.
I would do that.
Okay.
But I would never like, oh yeah, just like pay me and I'll just make the intro and like not say anything.
Yeah, so that's how I feel about money. And I want to make enough so I don't have to care about money. That's a weird place to be, huh? Because like I'm caring about money, but I don't want to think about it in the way where I have to nickel and dime everything.
And I think you're already at a point where you don't have to think about it, except for kids.
Yeah, truth be told, I think, the budgeting for kids can vary a lot.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to send my kids to private school. I think that sucks. Like $30,000 to $60,000 a year for what? Yeah, we'll see. I don't know what will happen when we get there. But this year's decision in my career has been very, I feel like I can take it anywhere. It's very scary. This morning, actually, I listened to a pod episode of, I forgot her name, but like the CTO of Netflix. I think her name was like Elizabeth.
Okay.
And talking with Lenny's newsletter, that guy.
Oh, Lenny 𝙊𝙊𝙎𝙏.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's an angel investor and client of the company.
Oh, wow.
Lenny's
exciting.
Great. Well, Lenny's another example. He turned down a 6-figure job at Airbnb as a product manager to start his own newsletter. And, now makes 7 figures from it.
Yeah, 7 figures from his newsletter.
Classic risky decision.
Exactly. But I think he does it well. I like his stuff.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. And then I think that when she was talking about her roles as CTO and building the company culture and just being part of Netflix, I was like, that's pretty cool. It's kind of cool. I like you. I like you, girl boss.
So were you thinking of this like, ooh, maybe I want to go back into that one day?
I had a little bit of FOMO, and then I had to like remind myself the path there is not sexy. The path there is brutal and it's tough.
A lot of politicking.
I think that sucks. The politicking is stupid.
I was terrible at the politicking. Yeah.
And I think people who are good at it and who thrive in it should continue doing it.
Yeah,
they really
totally.
should. Like, my path in life in tech would have been just to go up the chain, to go into management, become a director, maybe a VP, and then stay there if I wanted to go any higher.
And that's your life.
The money's insane.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Director of Facebook, you're making over $1 million, I think.
Yeah, for sure. 100%. Yeah. But then I looked at the C-suite path and the VP path and all those people who make absurd amounts of money and who like play the TC game.
What's TC?
Total comp.
Oh, total
comp.
Yeah,
whip out your big TC, like that energy. That's how Silicon Valley is, They also love living very, very fancily.
Yeah.
Yeah. They have a vacation home. They go skiing or some shit. They stay in 5-star hotels. They fly business. They spend like tens and thousands of dollars on literally nothing, or they just buy a random watch for $80,000.
They just don't care because they have the money.
Yeah, and they like love that experience. And then whenever I have meals with people at that level, they just go out and they just spend $200 on a meal, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I'll treat you." And I'm like, "The hell, we really don't need to do this. We don't need to do this."
The funny thing is, though, happiness does adjust. I'm not sure they're necessarily happier than we are.
Yeah, a lot of people I've met, I've been part of. A lot of those people who are super rich, VC founders, startup, like C-suites in the multi-million range, more than half of them are divorced. It's kind of crazy. And then some of my mentors who are in that area are getting their divorces now. because you just play that game too hard.
Money is weird. I also think, and there's another thing, I think from a friendship POV, you often end up becoming good friends with people who are roughly in your range.
It's hard to be friends with people who aren't.
Right. Either way above or way below.
Correct.
It is fortunately, I think our friend group, we're all generally in the same-ish range.
Yeah. When I wasn't in the range, I felt really like, I can only go out, have so much dinner. I can't really, I looked at my wallet and I'm like, sorry, I can't hang out tonight. Or I can't go on that trip, or I can't, have dinner.
These things matter.
Yeah, they matter a lot. They really do. So that's why I really like hanging out at home and eating at home and having the Venmo contribution being like no more than $30.
Similarly to you, I eat Chipotle multiple times a day. I'm super chill with that. I don't need also to go.
Isn't that out of your diet, not because of money?
Fair. I think it's to the point where you said initially, you're like, I don't need super fancy ass restaurants.
Yeah. First of all, I want to say this pod may feel really out of touch because I think that money is a hard a really hard topic. And within tech, numbers are so inflated. So I think the numbers we're talking about would be really uncomfortable. So I want to set the stage. It's a really sensitive topic, and I am already very privileged, and I'm very grateful. But
absolutely, same, yeah.
Yeah. But I will continue to perform and continue to hold a high bar for crushing it and doing something really awesome. I'm not someone who will just sit around on my butt and take this paycheck and do nothing. I don't know what else to say besides crazy numbers we're dealing with, but I hope that I will make people proud, whatever I do. Yeah. So that's one thing I realize. It's really out of touch, the way that we're talking about money.
Yeah, I think it comes down to this point around privilege.
Yeah.
Whenever we think about taking risks, or we all admire people who take giant risks and start new things and companies, become creators. What I didn't realize for a long time is, well, guess what? In order to take risk, you have to have privilege to start with.
And a safety net.
100%. And so even to consider questions like, hey, is it worth it? At what point is the focus on making more money holding me back from what I actually want to do? It assumes a level of, well, I'm making enough to survive.
Correct.
And you're right. I think that where we are now is we're able to focus on it from that perspective. This is not the conversation that I would be having with you 10 years ago.
At 22 or something.
Yeah. I think that would have been literally,
we're screwed.
How do I make more money?
Or how do I even pay my rent? Or how do I have enough money to go on a date? I remember that life. That freaking sucked.
When did that change for you?
When I got my first product manager job and I started making six figures. Yeah. I was making $60K. Okay. $60K in the grand scheme of America is really good.
Totally.
Yeah. But $60K in the Bay Area is really low.
Right.
I think the poverty line is low income is at $120K or something.
In the Bay Area?
Yeah. $100K is you're not making enough.
That's insane.
Yeah. Just because of how expensive things are, how expensive it is to live there. So that was
Were
rough.
you making content at that point?
No, of course not.
Exactly. This goes to the point where you don't even get to think about these sorts of things when you're not making enough.
I didn't have money to buy anything, not a new phone, not a camera, not a microphone. So I think I focused most of my 20s on getting myself a safety net.
Right. Same.
Yeah. And building enough money just to buy a thing that I wanted, not what I needed.
I never would have done a company if I, similar to you, hadn't spent years, 5+ years in corporate, just building not only a financial safety net, but a social one in terms of relationships, and finally a mental one, just feeling like, oh, if this doesn't work, I'm not f***ed.
Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of people, I did get a lot of hate comments when I got laid off. I think my follow-up videos was me chilling and living, slow living, or doing the next thing. And people got really upset because they were like, I don't even have that luxury.
Right.
You can just chill. Seems like you've never had to work or you never had to suffer. You've always had everything handed to you on a silver platter. And I'm like, that is what it is right now. I really can have the luxury to do that.
This is your life as it is right now.
Right now. But I had to build it all the way through. And I know that people spend decades to get there too.
Right.
Not to say they didn't work hard, but I had to take my steps to get there on my own as well. And I think people just don't see that. they can be rightfully upset when they see that kind of content.
Yeah, I think both are true. I think on the one hand, I want to speak to my perspective in my life as it is right now, because frankly, I don't want to pretend to be able to speak from a perspective that's not mine, and recognizing that this is not necessarily the perspective that other people would be having.
Yeah, for sure.
To your example, I think you're right. There are a lot of people upon getting laid off, the number one thing is like they're just desperate and like hitting up every single potential lead to try and make something ASAP.
Yeah.
Whereas you hit a level of financial stability where you're like, I actually don't need to do that. That doesn't mean what you've experienced isn't valid either.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that their feelings aren't valid. And a 30-second Instagram reel on slow living after your layoff doesn't go into all the that you also went through. I remember like there were periods you told me like growing up in high school. I know this isn't just the financial piece, but also emotional. Like you were out on the street.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah. And like that's not going to make it into a 30-second clip.
Yeah.
And that's not to say, therefore, everything you say is like accepted and kosher, but it's really hard to convey that context.
Yeah, I totally agree. And then I'm also like going back to when you said that with friendship, you never want money to be in the way of friendship. That's also a really privileged thing to say. Because I remember back then, if someone didn't freaking pay me back the $5 that I covered for them, I'd be so upset.
Oh, yeah, totally. For me too as well,
Yeah.
but from a principled POV versus I can't make rent POV.
Yeah. Like I have a couple of like 23-year-old friends and they talk about this a lot. Splitting money with friends, going on Airbnb trips, having random people stay over and people not paying each other back and still wanting to like deliver more food or drink the alcohol that no one, I don't know, like that can be really sticky. And that I remember when people didn't pay me back, I felt so salty.
Oh,
like
yeah.
I needed that money.
Yeah.
I needed it.
I pay people back immediately because I also remember like how angry I'd be.
Yeah. But now I think it's like, oh, if they forget to pay me back.
Oh, no, I'm still angry.
Okay. Do I owe you money?
No. In
okay,
fact,
great.
No, I might owe you money. Yeah, but I have to follow up on that. No, but like, no, I still get upset because I think some of those habits stay where like, yeah, once upon a time that was so important. At this point, maybe it doesn't make a difference in my day-to-day, but it makes a difference from a principled POV.
Yeah, it does. It does. But yeah, when I host things, I don't really expect people to, I don't know, I don't keep track of it.
That's right. I noticed whenever you host events, I actually admired this about you. You're very upfront. You're like, hey, folks, bring food or Venmo me like $30 to help cover the cost of the potluck.
Yeah.
I actually like that because I thought about this too. When you host things, it's expensive. And sometimes like, oh, like, should I ask people to help contribute? And I'm like, oh, like maybe I shouldn't because it'll be awkward and like they won't like me, whatever. I respect that you're just so upfront about it in a way that doesn't feel weird. And so, yeah, I saw that and I was like, well, I'm not bringing anything. So here's a Venmo.
I love how you knew that you just will Venmo instead of
No, and it's
something.
fantastic. In this way, we're both happy.
Yeah, we're both
Instead
happy.
of me showing up with like, oh, here's like a box of muffins I DoorDashed or something. That's, yeah.
I love that. So yeah, money, sticky. I don't want to ever fight with people over money ever again. So I avoid that.
What's the biggest fight you've had with anybody, somebody over money?
The one I remember is my ex. Like when we broke up and I brought a lot of my furniture and we were living together. So a lot of my furniture was at his place and then he wanted to buy stuff off of me and he was like bargaining with me. And I'm like, well, this is worth this much. And if you use the splitwise depreciation calculator, then it's this much.
The splitwise depreciation calculator.
Yeah, I mean, we got to be fair.
What's the value of furniture after it's been used?
Exactly. And he would still nitpick with me. And so when I experienced that, I was like, you cheap ass motherfucker, I hate you. And I will never see your face again. Yeah. And I just let it be. I also had a toxic roommate who was like a Google software engineer and made like triple what I was making. And he was also really cheap and I hated it. So I think I don't like, especially people who make enough money, like more than enough money if they're cheap with me. It just shows me what they value. But if you are really struggling and you have to be like a little bit conscious of your budget, I completely respect it. And more often than not, I prefer to like cover in a way that doesn't make you feel less. So that's why I like cooking I don't like cooking. What the hell? You're
like, that's not me.
Yeah. I like hosting people at my place because then I can provide, right? I have all this food in the fridge. I'll be like, oh yeah, we already have this. So we can just heat it up and eat it together.
You made Asian Paris for us last time we were here.
Yeah. And I will never have to ask you to pay for it. But if we went out, then you would have to pay for your portion.
And it feels weird if you were just randomly like, let me get this.
Yeah, it feels weird. So when it's at home, you don't really think about calculating all of it. So I like that with some of the friends who are struggling a little bit.
I remember similarly, the last fight I had with money was also with an ex. I think that's the number one top reason why relationships don't work out. I remember we had a big fight because...
Which one? What number?
Won't say.
What number?
But I'm sure you can figure it out.
Okay.
But we had a big fight because we were taking an Uber trip up to an event, and she had expected that I'd book an Uber Black, and I had booked like an Uber Comfort or whatever.
What?
To be clear, I paid for it.
Dude, I've never taken an Uber Black before.
But no, I remember like I had called like, I don't know, like an Uber up, and it was like a 2-hour trip. And then she was so mad I hadn't called a Black. And I was like,
a 2-hour trip?
Yeah.
For a Black?
It would be really expensive.
That would have been
hundreds of dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she was really angry about that. And I was like, oh.
Yikes. Yikadoodles. Don't love that.
Yeah. That was a vibe.
Yeah.
To your point on like friends and trading, what I really like to do going out with friends, assuming that I know we're both financially stable, I like to take turns paying because it functionally is very similar to just splitting.
Yeah,
but you feel happier.
Correct.
And in a way, it's like an investment. You're like, I want to get dinner with you again one day.
Sometimes what I like doing is paying to celebrate the other person's wins.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Of like treating on a big special occasion.
Yeah. Or it could be like a small thing. Usually when we catch up, they would have overcome something or going through a challenge. And I'll be like, cover this to celebrate this.
Yeah, just
because I wasn't there for you
nice
at the time. So just to show a little bit of love. But anyways, back to my biggest question that's been in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
What keeps me up at night is going back to corporate worth the money for me. Like, or should I take this risk and bet on myself for the potential unlimited upside in the be your own boss, content creation, creative space world? And I've been flip-flopping between the two.
Well, how long are you going to continue being a creator? Like, what's the trial period to like assess?
I gave myself until the summer, and then my creator friends like Lonnie has said that's just too short.
That's only 3 months. No. I think a year.
I know.
It's a big change.
I gave myself half a year.
It's like tech product manager to I'm a YouTuber.
Part of me is afraid to lose my skills.
I don't think your soft skills will disappear in a year.
Yeah, but I'm going to forget all like the nuggets of product decision making and like tactics and whatever and how to do the freaking interview. If I don't, I'm going to get rusty.
Maybe I'm biased because I used to be a product manager and I haven't done that for a while. I think the soft skill stuff, it stays. I think what goes away are like hard things. Like, oh, if you're an engineer, like how to like code in this one specific language or whatever. But even then, like the soft skills will stay too. Yeah. As a product manager, like most of everything I did was very soft skilly.
Yeah. I was looking at like Netflix jobs because they pay so much in cash.
Right.
I'm like, damn.
But you make over 6 figures as a creator.
I do.
And so the deciding factor, say X months, which I agree with Lonnie. This is Lonnie IAV. He's a great guy, by the way.
Yeah, great guy. Love him.
We love Lonnie.
We love Lonnie.
I think Lonnie's right. I think it should be longer. I think it should be like a year. And then say after the year, like, how are you going to determine it? Is it going to be based off how much you're making? Because I don't know if that's the right thing.
Yeah, that's not the right metric.
Right. I mean, assuming you're hitting a minimum, which is at least 6 figures.
Yeah.
I think it's more how fulfilled you are.
And longevity. I think the biggest part.
Can you continue this? Are you building capital?
Yeah. And in a sustainable way that I can operate when I can like take some time off and it'll still continue.
Yeah, totally. I think the most important thing is you're building something that generates money, even if you're not actively
that's what John really cautioned. Like with content, you're literally behind if you don't push a video out.
Yeah, you always have to follow the algorithm.
Yeah, but I'm like, well, that's kind of the same in tech too.
Yeah,
like if you take a vacation, your deadline still remains.
I mean, the only people who don't have to do this are people who literally have lots of investments or property.
Right.
And that's just different.
That is very different. I struggle because I know my skill set is so is pretty solid within the tech product space.
Yeah, you could easily get another product manager job. It's not a big deal. You will.
I know, but like well, I would have to, just thinking about prepping all over again.
I'm honest, even if you didn't prep that much, you got a good one.
I have to study so hard for interviews.
Right.
Yeah, I study like insane amount. I'm an insane person when it comes to that prep.
I believe you.
Yeah, I literally will like have a notebook and fill the entire freaking notebook in handwriting for just product interview questions. I remember doing the Facebook ones.
Yeah. How to design an alarm clock for blind people.
I hate that question.
Really?
Dumb
Why?
question. I just think, obviously, I just think those interview questions don't make you a good PM. It's not a good indicator.
Fair. Okay, I agree with that. I don't know how well correlated there. I actually find those types of interviews fun.
That's because you're a consultant at heart.
What does that mean?
That's all your questions. All your interview questions are these hypotheticals, how you think, the frameworks. But I'm like, I would never do this. I don't know. I don't care.
I actually agree with you. I think that the correlation between what you do in interviews and how you actually do what you actually do, they actually are pretty different.
They're so different, but you have to learn the art of interviewing and these questions. But I do hate the process.
I think I actually sometimes enjoy the interviewing process more than the actual job.
I am the opposite.
I know.
Complete opposite.
Together, our forces combined.
I know. I wish you could just interview for me.
Who's great at everything or someone who just doesn't like everything.
Yeah. I am not good at thinking on the spot.
Going back to content, obviously, money is not all of it. No, I'm keeping track.
Thank you.
My brain is a list of linked nodes that I use to remember information. Just trying to make a reference there.
Very nice.
That's because in a way, you know you're going to make enough from content to like survive. You're going to make 6 figures. You've already made 6 figures. How do you make that money? Like,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious. Like, I assume like brand deals, AdSense, the usual mix. What does that look like?
I make like very little from AdSense. AdSense is not a lot of money. I think it's 5% of my overall income and then 90% sponsors. And then I made some money, not a lot, but like probably another 5% for digital products that I sell on Gumroad.
Oh, what digital products do you sell?
My resume template.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't really advertise it.
You used to be like a career-focused creator.
I think I still am to an extent.
You are, but less on the tactical, like, here's how to interview
Mm-hmm.
and here's how to do your resume.
Digital products are pretty lucrative. Subscriptions like Discord, Twitch, which I only make like $500 a year on. And so literally everything is based on brand sponsorships. And I think that's terrifying.
That's really scary.
Because I never know if I'm going to get one until like literally a few weeks before or a month before.
But that's why, I mean, this is to the point on assessing whether you want to keep doing it. Maybe building those other revenue streams like your own products, courses.
Yeah, I think that is the smart move. Yeah, the way to go. But I do feel the instability with contract work, with brand partners, and having to have good relationships with them and working with like management and them taking a 20% cut of every single deal, which is like a lot of freaking money, okay?
A lot, 20%.
Yeah, a lot of money. I don't feel this is like a path that can always stay.
I feel like your head 3 months, in my head 1 year from now, the deciding question will basically how much you've been able to build out those other things. Yeah,
I think that's a good way to think about it. Another year?
I mean, it doesn't have to be a year. It's whatever you think is right. I'm not telling you it has to be a year, but 3 months is like, that's like nothing.
Okay, fine. I'll give myself more time.
Yeah.
I also, I don't know. I feel like lately I've been taking a lot of brand sponsors and I feel a little bit like I'm doing my audience a disservice.
Like you're selling out?
Kind of. Yeah.
What was your most recent sponsor?
I posted Scribe and LinkedIn in the last 2 weeks. And I think I did a good job on those. Yeah,
I feel like your videos, your brand sponsors, I mean, you're not just sitting there like reading off a piece of paper. You try to make them interesting.
I hate it when people do that. I think it's lazy.
Damn.
I think it's so lazy. It makes me so angry. But you know what? It's fine. I control what I can control and I will make art out of it.
Yeah, I saw like you had a Notion one where they were showing their like new AI tool and you're like dressed up in like a wizard hat and robe because it's magical.
I want to make it more than what you'd expect.
And I saw earlier today you posted a story of you wearing like an old person wig.
Yeah, I have my grandma wig over there. I think I try too hard though, and this is where the money starts not making sense because I jotted down all the hours it takes me to do 3 short form videos a week and 1 YouTube video a week, and it amounted to 60 hours just from scripting, filming, editing, and doing the thumbnail and then like setting to publish. And that does not include the meetings I have, the long-term strategy planning, the financials, the logistics, the inboxing. Like there's so many more things to the creator space than just making a video. And 60 hours a week on just that bare minimum number of videos. And I'm like, I'm trying too hard.
Well, you want to give up that ink. You just haven't found the right people to do it yet.
Yeah. I think I'm starting to find how I can make that happen. So I will get there. I am confident I will, but I think I don't want to give up the level of craft that I put into this.
Right, because there are
space.
people who spend way less time on their videos.
There are, and like good for them.
Right, but you don't want that.
I'm trying to balance it. From like a hourly perspective, you know how they say, oh, I traded my 9 to 5 to a 24/7? I don't think that is the right way to go about it for me. Even though I enjoy it a lot, I know that will hurt me if I don't.
Out.
I know, well, at one point I will be pregnant. At one point, my body won't be able to take filming for long hours and editing for long hours, and I will need to take a break. So I need to think about that moment in my life and see how I can get there.
Wow. That's wild.
What's wild?
Like, I'm just thinking like, yeah, you're going to be pregnant.
I'm going to be prego my ego.
How soon do you think that's going to be?
We thought next year I would get pregnant and then maybe release the baby the year after.
What do you mean release the baby?
I forgot the word, birth it.
Birth the baby?
Birth the baby the year after, so 2025.
I think your kids can't have a birthday. We're going to call it release date.
Yeah, launch date.
Public beta.
But we thought about having a baby at the Year of the Dragon, which is this year.
What's next year's?
Snake.
Oh, that's like dragon.
That's so mean.
No, like literally there's literally 2 reptiles in the Chinese zodiac cycle. One's dragon, one's snake. Which one would you rather be?
Dragon.
Yeah, obviously that's my point.
Dragon is the most lit one.
Dragon is what the snake wishes and aspires it could be.
Yeah, it's so mythical. It's cool. So, but I can't logistically get pregnant this year.
I mean,
I could, but I still have to do my wedding. And I don't want to have a kid before the wedding.
You could.
I don't really want to.
Fair.
I will figure out my life with the kids, with the house, with the mortgage, with the decisions. I am still undecided about going back to corporate. I also am likely contracting and consulting on the side to stay in the game. Plus, I also like it. And yeah, we'll see if this creative stuff will work out sooner rather than later.
Thanks for tuning in to Chloe and Eric on Money Matters.
See you next time.
That's not the name of our podcast.
Isn't that a name of another podcast?
Probably. Money Talks.
Money.
So do we.
We do. I'll see you guys next time.
Right.
Bye, y'all. Okay.
That was good. That was fun.